Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and I'm going to be taking a look at the new little tier 3 Swedish premium tank that's come into the game, which is the Toldi, the 43M Toldi III. And it's, as I said, Swedish tier 3 premium light tank. Now, first things first, the stats of this vehicle and anything else that I'm going to compare it to are accurate. To the best of my knowledge at the time of publishing. Yeah, I do sometimes get things wrong, so anyway, but yeah, so obviously, you know, there's various buffs and nerfs that come to World of Tanks, so yeah, these stats are accurate at the time of publishing this video. And the other thing is that, interestingly, well, I say interestingly, it's probably not. On PC, this is actually a German premium vehicle, premium tank, but on here we have it in the Swedish tech tree. And I did mention this actually to Carbide, and he was saying that you know, he's very knowledgeable on his real world tanks. I'm knowledgeable on my digital tanks, not so much on my real world, although I am learning and getting there. It makes more sense in the Swedish tree because, although it was actually Hungarian, so yeah, it's in the German tree on the PC. We have it in the Swedish, but it's actually Hungarian. It was based off basically the M38. When I can get my words out, the tier 2, as you can see there, and I think was produced under license. Now this is, if I remember rightly, produced under license in Hungary, possibly. Could be getting that wrong, but anyway, yeah, it was a slightly more updated version of the Strev M38 or the L60, whatever you want to call it, which I think was developed around, I don't know, was it pre-war? I want to say 1934, or it could have been 1938, in fact, and hence the name 38. I don't know. Again, I'm not completely up on that sort of thing, but anyway, it was an up-armoured version of that, and that is, well, I use the term up-armoured loosely. Yeah, basically what we have is a tier 3 version of the Strem M38 with a very slight up-armouring and a very slight up-gunning as well. But this does not get preferential matchmaking. It will see tier 5, and yeah, it kind of feels like it needs something doing to it, but I'll go on about that a bit more in the replay. So yeah. Another one that you may be aware of is the Strev, well, STRV, Strev, whatever you want to call it, M40L, which was, again, a sort of a modernisation of the L60, up-armoured, up-gunned, although that does have a bit more armour to it, and a slightly better gun, even though that's only a 37mm. This gets a 40. I would say that this is a better gun on this. In fact, yeah, it's definitely a better gun on this. So, yeah, what we're left with, as I said before, is a slightly up-armoured, slightly up-gunned tier 3 version of the tier 2, and it kind of leaves you with a, well, to be honest, what feels like a fairly sort of lackluster and mediocre tier 3 tank. It doesn't really have any outstanding features, apart from it's got very good gun depression at -10 degrees, and that's about it. That's really sort of its only redeeming feature, in a way. Aim time's not great, accuracy's not great. Penetration damage aren't bad for the tier, although there are stuff that are much better than this, and there are plenty of tier 3s that completely outmatch and outclass this, and the odd tier 2 that I've come up against has kind of sort of outmatched it slightly. But yeah, I mean, if you're wanting a cheap tier 3 premium runabout, I would say you're best off going for something like, just off the top of my head, Blitzen, S35, Lux. They kind of outperform this, and they're probably better. If you're wanting a cheap Swedish crew trainer specifically, so obviously something Swedish and cheap, to be honest, you're probably better off sticking with the Tomta L60, which you should have got for free around Christmas. If for whatever reason you didn't get it for free, you forgot to log in, or you weren't playing, etc, etc, then I would possibly just spend the extra and go for the STRV M4257, which is a tier 6. Quite a nice little medium tank for training your crews in. And I mean, with the cost of the bundle on this at the moment being I think it's 3,250. Obviously, you do get extra gubbins in there like premium time and about ×3 boost stops. I think the Strev is about 3,700-ish for the M4257, roughly, if I recall correctly. So it's only around 500 more to get that one. The listed Tankopedia price for this is 850 gold. So I mean, basically, for that package for 3,250, you're paying for all the extras that you get with it. But yeah, so as it stands at the minute, I'd say either stick with your Tomta or fork out the extra and get the 4257 if you're wanting a specific Swedish cheap crew trainer. That's just, you know, that's my opinion. But yeah, something needs to be done with this. But let's just have a look at it anyway, and then we'll sort of, I'll talk about what I think could be done with it over the gameplay. So 155 horsepower engine, which is again about average for the tier. It's a light tank, doesn't really have much armour, so the power to weight ratio is not too bad. But again, there's other stuff that's better. 40mm gun with 26 rounds a minute, 64 penetration and 45 damage. So as you can see, that's, you know, fairly consistent within the tier, within sort of tier 3, quite an average gun. 80 on your premium ammunition. You will have to fire premium ammunition in tier 5 matches and occasionally in tier 4 matches as well. I mean, tier 5, don't forget that in tier 5 this could come up against OI experimentals. It can come up against the one that I've completely forgotten the name of. 3001D, is it? The tier 5 German heavy. You know, obviously that. Churchills, etc, etc. Matildas, in fact, you know, Matildas are very difficult to pen with the standard ammunition and can be trickier with the premium ammo. So you are going to have to fire some premium ammo, especially in tier 5, and it does kind of feel like you're there for sort of well, cannon fodder in a way, which is, you know, I know it's a bit contradictory. Well, you'll see it's a little bit contradictory because the 2 clips I've got for you are in fact tier 5 matches, but it's just one of those things. You've got to play it careful and smart, you know, you're in tier 5. And it kind of feels like you don't have a roll almost, because the aim time is 2.1 seconds. Yeah, getting back to it, digressed a little bit, here we go. Aim time is 2.1 seconds, which is quite poor. The tier 3 tech tree version, the M40, I think is something like 1.8 or 1.9 if I recall correctly. And accuracy at 0.43 is pretty poor again as well. Again, I think the tech tree version is about 0.38-ish. Now I know I do say that these tanks, you know, they shouldn't outperform the tech tree variants, but this kind of doesn't, because that also has, the tech tree one also has better frontal armour, thicker on the turret and actually thicker on the upper glacis as well. Traverse is quite nice though, 45 degrees, 30 on the turret. Yeah, that is a bit of an issue. The hull does turn considerably quicker than the turret. It has been and will be an issue when you're in game. It's made me miss the odd shot because the turret's still catching up and I've been a bit too keen on the trigger, so yeah, sometimes you can circle some of the really bigger, slower things if you're careful, but that turret traverse can, well, it will be an issue for you. View range 310 meters, which again I think is about average for the tier. Some are a bit less, some are a bit more, but yeah, you know, about average. And a 400 meter signal range. So as you can see, it is kind of average, but it just feels a bit lackluster and mediocre, as I said before. What did I forget? Supplies, just, well, for what it's worth, 15 for your standard armor piercing, 800 for your premium, which again are a premium version of armor piercing, and only 12 silver for your high explosives. Yes, don't forget this is the press account. Before I get any more comments, this is the press account. That is not my silver. I wish it was. That is not my free XP. I wish it was. Yeah, these are not all my tanks. Again, I wish they were. Yeah, this is the press account given to me by Wargaming. I don't have that much stuff on my account, if only. So yeah, crew skill wise, well, it's difficult with these tier 3s because generally most people, you're not going to have a dedicated crew in it. You're going to use it as a training sort of vehicle for your other crews. So quite often you're just not going to have that dedicated crew in there. So crew skills, it can be a bit tricky with it. I mean, if anything that can improve your turret traverse, which I don't think there is. No. Anything that can improve your accuracy, aim time. I mean, I've put a gun lane drive on this. I can't imagine many people actually putting a gun lane drive on it, but to be honest, I can imagine it being pretty goddamn awful without one. And I've put vents on it. You cannot put a gun rammer on this, so that is something to bear in mind. And I didn't bother with coated optics because, again, I know it's not my silver, but realistically there's probably not going to be that many people that are going to spend, I mean, what's that, 350, 70, you know, 700,000 for equipment on a tier 3. Some people might, if you've been playing on Xbox for a long time, you've got an abundance of silver, it might not be an issue. People playing on PS4 probably aren't going to have that sort of abundance of silver to, you know, stick the best part of $1 million silver in equipment on a tier 3 tank. Right, oh, just before I do that, I just wanted to check something. The Strev M40L, this is the tech tree version. Let me just show you the frontal armour look. There we go. So you can see that falls into the 31 to 51 bracket. It claims it's 50. I can't remember what it is on the front of the hull, but on the front of the turret it is, you know, supposed to be 50, and obviously that is thicker on the front of the upper glacis and those strips there. So just keep that in mind for when we have a look at the armour on the Toldi. That's just why I put that on there. And also the power to weight ratio on the Tech Tree one is 20.21. And on the tier 6, no, sorry, tier 6, the tier 2 version, which again this is based off, it's a slight modernisation of it, that gets 17.49 power to weight ratio. So if we then look at the Toldi, which has only got a small amount of armour and a small amount of extra armour and a small amount of sort of upgunning, does lose a little bit of power to weight ratio over the tier 2 and quite a considerable amount from the tier 3 sort of tech tree equivalent. So you've got a power to weight ratio of 16.4, so it is slower than both of those. Forward top speed 45, which is the same. Reverse speed 20 kilometers an hour, which is, you know, that's good, that's nice in reverse. I can't remember, I didn't pay attention to what that was on that one, so I must apologise. I didn't really pay attention to that, but you do have a 20% chance of fire. I've not been set on firing it yet, but, you know, that's probably just down to RNG and various other things. Generally, though, with this, you're going to be dead before you set on fire, because there's a lot of things that can sort of one-shot you or two-shot you that you will come up against. Concealment is alright. It's a tier 3 light tank, so again, kind of average for the tier 0.34 on both. You know, with it being a light tank, it keeps its camouflage rating on the move. Accuracy on the gun, as I've said before, 0.43 at 100 meters, 0.73 on moving the tank, and 0.90 on rotating the turret. So definitely not the most accurate gun, but you do get 25 degrees of gun depression and a very good -10 of 25 degrees of elevation and a very good -10 on depression as well. So that is basically its only redeeming feature is the gun depression. It can be alright on ridgeline. I mean, through the magic of editing, you won't have heard that. My voice just went completely. Yeah, so it can be alright on ridgelines, as I was saying, but the accuracy has been an issue for me. Yeah, accuracy is pretty poor on this. Like I say, it needs something doing to it, but I'll sort of talk about that with the gameplay bit. Tracks, well, quite a lot of gaps. Probably not going to stop too many shells. Your tracks do act as spaced armour, don't forget. But obviously with this, there's quite a lot of gaps through there for shells to go through. So yeah, it's a tier 3 light tank. You know, just most tanks that are going to see these, it doesn't really matter where you're going to hit it. You're probably going to pen it. Blitzens just tear this thing to shreds, and some of the other auto loading guns as well. They just really tear it a new one. Terrain resistances, by the way, again, all right, not great. It's just the theme of this tank, kind of average. 0.9, 1.1 and 1.7. Turret on top. Radio in the back of the turret on the, well, just at the front of the bustle, actually. It is a bustle and not a storage bin, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It's on the damage module. If it was a storage bin, it wouldn't be. Ammunition blocks. Big old one on the left-hand side, just around the level of the top of the tracks, going down to the whole floor, and one about half the size just on the right-hand side of the tank. But again, generally at this sort of tier, you're not going to have to go too much for ammo racks. I mean, I suppose if you're another tier 3 or tier 2, it's something you could go for. But a lot of the tier 2s, you know, spray and pray anyway. Not all of them, just, you know, quite a few. Crew, you've actually got 3. You've got your driver sat down in the hull, and then you've got your commander and your gunner, very, very cosy up in the turret together there. Not much room to move about. I'm assuming your commander and or gunner are probably going to double up as various other things as well, radio operator, loaders, etc., and all that lovely stuff. And then armour-wise, well, not a great deal to talk about. Remember I showed you the armour on the Tech Tree one? Well, this is a bit thinner, so 31 to 50, that was covering the whole upper glacis on the Tech Tree version, and the turret front was also 50. On this, it is 35mm. and that strip there is also 35mm if I remember correctly, but I will confirm that in just a second. So as you can see, the armour isn't as good, and it's got a less power to weight, you know, a lower power to weight ratio than the Tech Tree version as well. So its armour figures, yeah, it is 35 on the front of the hull, 35 on the front of the turret as well, 25 on the side and rear of the turret, and a measly 13mm on the side and 10mm on the rear of the hull. So yeah, that's what I mean about slightly up armoured. They basically added that strip to it, and so yeah, the 35mm figure that it gives just applies to that strip. The rest of the hull is, well, it's in the 1:21, and if it follows suit with the Tier 2, which it is a modernised version of, then I'm going to estimate, and this is just an estimation, that it's going to be 15mm, the same as that one. I have bounced the odd shell off the front, but it was, I think it was a Tier 2, and it, you know, it is not reliable. It's definitely not reliable. Your gun mantle might not be too bad at a range, you know, sort of range against Tier 2s and 3s peeking over ridges, but you can get, you know, make it quite a small target, so that's possibly where you want to try and use this sort of a bit of a ridgeline sniper, which again is difficult because of that accuracy. But yeah, there's not really much to tell about the armour. I'm not going to go through all this. You can see it there. It's pretty basic all over, and fairly easy to pen wherever you hit the thing. So yeah, let's get into the gameplay, and I'll talk about what I think possibly needs to be done with it, and we'll see how it actually handles. Right, so here we are for the first of the replays, and I know I said that, you know, you feel as though you just cannon fodder in Tier 5 game, and then I bring 2 Tier 5 games to show you, but sometimes that's just how it goes. And these, they're not great, but these were probably the only, not just the best, the only 2 usable games that I had, to be honest. Been a real struggle in this, and again, I don't know if it's just something, just bad luck I've had or whatever, but I just seem to have had bad matchmaking again with this today, and I don't know. I don't know if there's less people playing or they're just playing the higher tiers. I don't know, but I've, yeah, not been top tier very many times in it, and you know, just a quick reiteration of what I was saying in the garage there. I just find it a bit lackluster, and it needs something doing to it, because and I know I've said before that the premiums, you know, shouldn't outperform the Tech Tree versions, but I think that if this had, I think if it either had premium matchmaking, basically all the stats were left the same, and it had premium matchmaking, then I think that would do it. Or leave it with the Tier 5, well, you know, the standard matchmaking, and give it a buff to its aim time and accuracy. I think that would help, and I think with either one of those things, it would be an alright little crew trainer. But I think as it stands, I cannot think of a reason to buy this tank. As I said in the garage, if you know, if you wanted a cheap crew trainer for the Swedish, either stick with the Tomta, the free Tier 2 that we got, or just spend the little bit extra and get the Tier 6 that's in the Tech Tree, the 4257, is it, or 4275, whichever one it is. The Tier 6 premium in the Tech Tree. That's what I'd personally do. Something I did forget, I think, in the garage bit of the bonuses on this, which, if I remember rightly, are 20% XP and 20% silver and 60% XP. But I'll just check on that one for you. Oh, yep, he saved it. Yeah, he saved my arse there, didn't he? Really. And that's what I mean. When you're in Tier 5, you've just got to play it smart. You've got to play it clever. You're going to have to stay back, and you're just going to have to hope that you can actually hit what you're aiming at and pen them. Because that's the main thing. You can't really aim for weak spots at that range, especially because your accuracy is so poor. Bonuses: 30% silver, sorry, not 20, and 60% XP bonus. Yeah, it's the Tier 2 is 20% silver and I think 70% XP bonus, something like that. So yeah, and I suppose, you know, it's kind of a shame in a way, because it is a new tank. We've seen a lot of reskins recently and sort of rehashes, and I suppose technically it is a new tank, even though, you know, in reality it was a modification, a slight modernisation of the M38, which was running game. But yeah, it kind of is new, and it would have been nice to have a cheap and cheerful Swedish crew trainer added to the game. But yeah, as I say, I kind of, in its current form, I can't really think of a reason to get this. It's okay to poor, I think is my opinion. But yeah, it just, one of those two things would sort it out, I think. But yeah, these, I mean, don't forget that you know, this is the press account. This has got a crew in it that's got every skill and perk going, so that's going to go towards it. And even with a crew like that in it, I still felt it was very lackluster and mediocre. So that just kind of gives you an idea. But yeah, it is a shame. But yeah, hopefully, you know, that might happen. You know, the King Dragon came out. A lot of people said that it needed more than it had got. C tier 10 in its current form, it wasn't worth it. And then they buffed it a few weeks later, and you know, made it, you know, give it a better gun. Which I will be doing that, by the way, that revisit. I've got the garage bit done, but as I said the other day, when I went to actually edit it all together, I found out that for some reason my capture card had only been recording audio all day, so it was just a black screen with lots of tank noises. So I've just got to grab some more footage. I'll try and get that done this weekend and upload it early next week. There you go. So not too savage a match really for a tier 3 and a tier 5 game, but nothing, you know, nothing outstanding, nothing particularly spectacular. Just sort of surviving and doing okay in it really. But yeah, I don't know. You see, that's what I mean. There's nothing on it that really stands out as you know, that really sort of makes it stand out apart from that gun depression. And as I said before, you know, its speed is okay, not great, a bit average. Its armour is pretty shit, to be honest. But you know, again, kind of average for the tier in a way. But yeah, as I said before in the garage, I feel that there are so many other tanks around tier 3 and like I say, the odd tier 2 that outclass this or can do what you want them to better than this could, if you catch my drift. So you know, as I said before, if you're just wanting a cheap tier 3 premium runabout to have a bit of fun in, there's other stuff I'd recommend over this. And you know, the 3 just from the top of my head with the Lux, the Blitzen, and the S35, you know, the German captured one. And yeah, specific when I can talk, specific Swedish crew trainers, which is a bit of a mouthful. Yeah, the tier 6 possibly, because even though it's not got as large a XP bonus as this does, you're obviously getting more XP because it's a higher tier and you're going to be against higher tiers. And it just, I don't know, it was alright. It was a decent fun tank. It's got some nice burst damage on it. Not the easiest to get used to if you're not used to playing that style of tank, but when you do, it can be quite capable, I found. Or yeah, just stick me a little freebie tier 2 to run about in. It might take you a few matches longer to train a crew up in it, but at least you're not spending any money. And I mean, that's the other thing with this, that its bundle is mostly sort of its ultimate bundle, whatever it is, 3,250 gold. That's a lot. I mean, that's like, you know, that's tier 5 premium tank sort of territory. You look at the tier 5 premiums that are sitting in the tech tree that you can go and buy, and you know, that's what you're going to be paying, about 3,250, 3,500, something like that. So that's a hell of a chunk to pay out for a tier 3. And like I mentioned before in the garage, I know you're getting extras with it, and that's basically what you're mostly paying for in it, but still, it's a lot to pay out. So I mean, if you did want to give this one a try, its base cost in Tankopedia is listed at 850 gold, which is right for a tier 3 really. That's kind of what they are, 850. I think there might be one that's 1,000 or 900, something like that. So yeah, the base cost is right, but the pack that's available at the moment is very expensive. Now, oh yeah, there he is. I knew there was a TD coming along there sometime. Obviously you don't have a lot of health in this. It's tier 3 light, so you got, what is that, 250, 230, something I did again forget to mention. in the garage. I always forget hit points. I don't know why. But it's not going too bad down here. I'm not a massive fan of Lakeville, I must admit. I'm really not. But it's not going too bad in the town. There weren't many of us that came here, but again, sort of playing kind of smart. We're doing alright. We've sort of surrounded some of the enemy tanks. They've been very obliging and only come out as one at a time, which is always nice. So the fight has not been particularly fair. In our advantage, obviously. Well, that's the thing with World of Tanks. Always try to never get into a fair fight. Always make it as unfair as possible to your advantage in World of Tanks. That's how you do it. And that's kind of how this has gone. Like I say, you know, I think the Churchill's back there with us. Got the is he an M3, M5, and myself, and yeah, just kind of surrounding these guys and not giving them a chance. And as I said before, kind of nice of them to come out as one at a time. Tried to get around on the other Toldi, but the Churchill took him out anyway, and he was sort of running around. But yeah, sort of split up, come at them from different ways. Try and let the bigger boys take the damage where you sort of put it in from a distance. And yeah, that came out of nowhere. That actually made me jump slightly while I was doing it. I just wasn't expecting anything like that for some reason. But again, not bad, not great, but there you go, the Toldi. So yeah, definitely need something doing with it. Either PMM, premium matchmaking, or a buff to its aim time and accuracy. Would, I think, sort out and make it an alright little crew trainer and worth picking up. But in its current form, I would personally say avoid it and just don't bother with it. There you go. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that one. I don't think I'll be able to get my LA Noire video up for those of you that watch it tomorrow. That might have to be Monday, unfortunately. I will try and get a video up over the weekend, but if I don't, I hope you all have a great weekend, and I'll be back next week, like I say, if I can't get one up. So until then, take care out there, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.